friends, and welcome to another episode of the Woldenburn Podcast. My name is Emily, and I am coming to you from Tennessee, where I live with my husband and our brand new little boy, who was born a couple months ago now. I am so glad that you are joining me today. It's a little bit of an unexpected podcast episode today. Baby Tam decided to nap beautifully and is hanging out lovely with my husband, which is amazing. So I realized that this was a perfect opportunity to really quick film another episode. I don't have tons and tons of things to share, but I thought there's a couple things that I thought would be kind of fun to show you. I have a sewing project that I'm hoping to get to pretty soon here, and then I thought it might be fun to kind of go through all of my current knitting works in progress, just to kind of share them with you. I don't know about you, but a lot of times I find that when I stop and step back and take a look at everything that I have going on, oftentimes it makes me really inspired to try my darndest to get to those projects and actually work on them a bit more. That being said, I do have I have a finished object, I have a new cast on, and I do have a little bit of actual sewing to share with you. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so finished object to share with you is the snow globe sweater. Let me see. I honestly couldn't tell you which one's the front at the moment. I know there was some. I think this one's the front. Not that it makes too much of a difference, but this is the snow globe sweater by Hannah of Hannah G Knits on YouTube and Instagram, and I was able to test knit it for her, and here we are. This is what the finished sweater looks like. I love this sweater. It was my first time doing color work, like a proper stranded color work garment. I've done a little bit of like light color work in socks before, where it's like a 1x1 sort of a thing, but never like a proper garment stranded color work. And this was the perfect project to just kind of dip my toes into that. There are so many patterns in my Ravelry library or my Ravelry favorites that are colorwork yoke projects, but I've just been a little intimidated, to be honest, and I think that this is a fantastic project to kind of work on that fear a little bit. So anyway, this is, like I said, the snow globe sweater. I made the second size, which I believe is 3 months to a year. So it's definitely a bit big for my baby at the moment, just because he was such a wee little fellow when he was born, so he's still kind of catching up. But it's great. We had our final postpartum midwife visit this last week, and he's up to 10 3/4 pounds, so he's almost 11 pounds, which is just, it's just lovely. I'm so glad. It just means he's healthy and thriving. But that's a tangent. So yeah, this is the second size, and it has this beautiful colorwork yoke with these bubbles around it. And yeah, this is out of my hand-dyed yarn. It's a gray DK, and then the navy is actually 2 strands of fingering weight held together. And I knit this in 3 different needle sizes. So I used a, what was it, a US 3, I think, for the neck, or for the ribbing, for all of the ribbing portions. Then I used a US size 5 for the color work in the body, and then a US size 6 for the sleeves, since usually when you're knitting a small circumference, your gauge changes quite a bit. The funny thing was, especially before I blocked it, I had the opposite problem with my color work that a lot of people talk about. I've heard it said multiple times that oftentimes it's a good idea to go up a needle size for any color work portion of a sweater, because your gauge can kind of tighten up. I found it was the opposite, that it's probably just because I was so paranoid that I was going to make it way too tight on my floats, and it just wasn't going to fit at all. And so my gauge on the color work was actually just like a little bit looser than on the body. And it was much more obvious before I blocked it. I think you can probably still tell a little bit, but that's okay. It's a little kid's sweater, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Honestly, that's not even the case. It's knitting and it's handmade, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's all a work in progress. It's all the journey. Anyway, so I thought that was really interesting that my color work actually ended up being a bit looser than the rest of it. But let me show you what my floats look like, because I feel like this is a thing that people do when they knit color work, and I get to do it now. So there we go. There's all my floats. Some of them are a bit loose, and I definitely caught my floats a lot more often than the pattern necessarily called for, just because, again, I was so paranoid that I was gonna mess it up. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was doing it right. I did make a slight change to the pattern. I very sillily, I don't know if that's a word. I don't know what I would use instead. I made a very silly mistake. There we go. And I did not double check how much yardage I would need of the main color to knit this sweater. And I only dyed 1 skein of yarn instead of 2 to make it. And I realized when I was working on the body, I was like, oh, my cake was getting kind of small, and I was like, ooh, I have 2 sleeves still left to do, and the rest of the body. Am I gonna run out of yarn? No, surely I'll be fine. Like, it should be totally fine. And I went and checked it, and no, I did not dye enough yarn. So I changed it up just slightly, and I made all of the ribbing in my contrast color. So the body ribbing was supposed to be in the same main color, and then the sleeves were supposed to be in, I believe it's called a corrugated ribbing, where it was both the contrast and the main color alternated. And then I can't remember if there was any of the contrast color called for in the neckband. I think it was just a stockinette rolled neck in the main color. Instead, to make sure that I had enough yarn, I just went ahead and did all of my ribbing in the contrast color. And honestly, I think it looks so good. I think it looks really, really cute. The original pattern is beautiful, but I'm happy that since I did make such a goofy mistake, that it turned out so well. But yeah, I love how it looks. It looks so good. It's going to be such a nice, cozy, warm sweater. Baby Tam probably won't be able to wear it until closer to Christmas, if not after the new year. But at some point, he'll be able to fit it, and it's just going to be amazing. And so now I have 2 little hand knit sweaters for him. This other one is another test knit that I did for Hannah. Let me show it to you really quick. It was the first thing I ever knitted for Baby Tam. And it's just this really classic raglan sweatshirt. It's called Ollie's Classic Crew, I believe. And it's beautiful. I love it. It's got these garter ridges on it. And I knit this out of the Pearl Soho Good Wool in something teal. I can't remember. It's been a minute since I knit this, but now I have 2 really cute, sweet sweaters for him. And this one, even though it was in the baby size, is still too big for him. So, and there were some modifications that were made to the pattern after it, in the middle of test knitting. So this ended up a bit bigger than the pattern actually would have it, but I was basically done with the sweater, so I wasn't going to rip it all out. So I would like to knit another one of both of these, honestly, just because I love the pattern so much. They're so classic and simple and beautiful, and Hannah just designs the best patterns. She does such a good job. And also, I just had the realization that I may have shared the snow globe sweater on my last podcast episode. Oh well. I feel like the last episode was I was kind of tired and a little bit stressed out because the baby wasn't cooperating, and anyway, if I shared it on the last one and I'm double sharing it, apologies. Oh well. So, let me see here. I do also have an acquisition to share with you in a minute. Well, technically 2. I've got a little bit more to share with you than I thought I did. Let's see, what should we do? I have 2 new cast-ons. Man, I'm remembering all kinds of things. Let's set that aside. That's an acquisition for later. This is a new cast-on. Let me share my new cast-ons, and then we'll kind of go through what my other works in progress are. So first off, I am knitting Baby Tam a pair of socks, and I am just kind of making up this pattern. At this point, I have knit enough socks that I really have a good grasp of at least cuff down socks and how to make them. So I may, if I end up really liking this and it works really well for Baby Tam, then I may end up doing, making a free pattern and just popping it up either on my blog or as a downloadable PDF on Ravelry. Yeah, because it's just super simple baby sock. I'm making the leg of it really, really long because I want to be able to fold it down like this, because I feel like that's going to really help it to stay up. But yeah, so it's basically just going to be in 1x1 rib all the way down. I've done a heel flap and gusset, and now I'm just on the, I need to do the gusset decreases. And then I am planning to do kind of the standard sock thing, keep the 1x1 ribbing on the top of the foot and just do plain stockinette on the bottom. And I'm purposefully making it just what I hope will be a little bit big so that he has some room to grow into it, so it doesn't immediately like only fit him now. That's how we're looking. And I honestly, I didn't count or keep track of it. I just kind of knit. So I'll have to like count how many rows I did. The cool thing is I'm actually knitting these, surprise, surprise, not on my DPNs. I am using my brand new Leica needles that I think I shared in the last episode as an acquisition, and so far I really like them. I like the cord a lot. I know that people talk about how the Chiagu red lace cord, which I have one, I'll show it to you in a minute. I don't find it to be that particularly mind-blowing, but I honestly really like the Leica cord. It's quite nice. It's nice and thin, which I appreciate. My battery cut out, but thankfully my husband is actually getting into doing some filming himself, so we bought some extra batteries for my camera, so that's really nice. And all the time that I have been filming, I have always been doing it off of one battery pack, and let me tell you, sometimes it's a real pain. So I'm super happy to have more. Anyway, back to the sock, back to the needles. Short story is, I love them. I'm really enjoying working with them. I feel like it is now a dream of mine to have a interchangeable set of Leica needles. I was looking on the Ravelry stash page to see if I could find any secondhand for not too expensive, and there was one on there. But I think I'll have to save up for that for a little while. But yeah, nothing much more to say about this. It's just a really basic sock, and I'm hoping to be able to get a bit more work done on it. This was honestly a couple of evenings of work because my knitting time is in just such short spurts. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm knitting it out of my hand-dyed yarn in this beautiful colorway. If you've been here for a while, you know I recently knit the Summer Crescendos top, which was, I test knit it for Sophie of the Knit Pro Girl, and I knit it out of this. So I have this left over. So I'm hoping to get a pair of socks for him, and then I might have just enough left over if I do like a contrast heel and toe to squeeze this pair of shorty socks out for me, which would be really cute. So there's that project, which is a new cast on. And then the last new cast on that I have is another test knit. And this one, it's such a different experience. So here's what I have so far. And this is a test knit for Emily of the Blue Mouse Knits and the Blue Mouse and the Blue Mouse Knits podcast. She used to do a podcast. She hasn't done one in a really long time. And I hope that she gets to the place where she's able to do it again, because her podcast is one of my favorite like all-time favorite podcasts, and I've been following her for years and years and years, and I have knit several of her patterns, and she's just a wonderful pattern designer. And she put out a call on YouTube for some test knitters, and it's for a really simple classic cardigan and then like a raglan striped sweater. And I was like, ooh, cardigans. I've been needing more cardigans. It's something that I've realized is that I need to knit more cardigans, especially with like breastfeeding and stuff right now. I just need to have a bit more access to things. And it's just easier with cardigans versus sweaters. But yeah, and the other thing is I think I mentioned this maybe 2 or 3 podcast episodes ago. I talked about how I wanted to knit more things that were in pieces. I don't know, I was watching Holly of the Mystery Mouse Knits podcast. I always forget if it's Mystery Mouse Knits or Mystery Mouse Knitting or something. Anyway, I'll link her podcast down below. Probably in my top 5 favorite knitting podcasts at the moment. She was talking about how she was knitting this adorable little cabled sweater for her littlest baby boy, and it's in this red. It looks so good, and she was knitting it in pieces, and I was like, I kind of want to knit more things in pieces. I don't know why, it just like popped into my head. So it turns out that this cardigan is knit in pieces, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really happy about it. It's a very classic, simple cardigan. It's just stockinette. It's knit in pieces. You've got the front pieces, the back piece, and then you seam it up, and then you've got sleeves, obviously. Those are the components of a cardigan. And it's knit in a really budget-friendly yarn. That's another thing that I really appreciate about Emily, is that she does a really good job of, especially now, and with many of her, the first knitting patterns that she designed, she does them out of really budget-friendly yarns, like big box store, like Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, those sorts of places. The yarn from there, so they're very accessible, which I really appreciate, because I am only able to knit the things that I'm able to knit because I had a hand-dyed yarn business a few years ago, which I'm hoping to kind of get back into, but we're going to talk about that at the end. And so I have a lot of stuff left over from that. But the reality is that yarn is expensive. It is really expensive. And so I just so appreciate it when people have patterns where they either recommend yarn that's a good substitute, that's really affordable, or they just design their knitting pattern designs in budget-friendly, affordable yarns. If I ever get into knitting pattern designing, which I'd like to at some point, I really want to try and use budget-friendly yarns. But that was a whole tangent. That's what I'm knitting it out of. I'm knitting this out of it's from Hobby Lobby, Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek Low Pill Fiber. And it's this beautiful kind of faded mauve terracotta look almost, and the colorway is Spice, and it's a worsted weight yarn, and it's got 232 yards per 142 grams, and it's a really nice soft, like honestly for acrylic, because it's what, 100% low pill acrylic. For an acrylic yarn, it feels really nice. Like, it doesn't have that super plasticky feel, and it's not like super shiny like a lot of acrylic yarns are. And that is one thing that I will say for Hobby Lobby. They do tend to have a lot of really nice looking acrylic yarns that are in they're really budget friendly. This one was 30% off, so I got it for like $3 a ball or something. I think I need to get 4 of them. I think maybe it was less than $3 a ball. I don't remember. But yeah, so that's what I'm knitting it out of. And it is such a weird experience because I do so much of my knitting with fingering weight yarns and on very small needles. So like the biggest needle I've used recently is a size 6. And so this is knit on I'm doing a size 10.5. The pattern calls for a size 10, but I went up to get my gauge right. And I used a size, I think 8 for the ribbing, and it's so different because they're so big. Like, you compare, well, that's the one I used for the ribbing. This would be a fun comparison. So we've got, it won't even focus. We've got these, which are teeny, teeny, tiny, and then you've got this. So it's a very, very different experience, and I don't think that I have ever knit any garment on this size of a knitting needle. So I'm really enjoying it, and it's growing so quickly. I also have realized that I think I want to knit less fingering weight garments and focus more on knitting DK weight or maybe even worsted weight garments, because the one that I'm wearing, I should have talked about it at the very beginning. This is the Gill sweater, which is a pattern designed by Claire of Flossy Knits. I love this sweater so much. I finished it at the beginning of this year, and it has this beautiful cable down the front. It's a little bit cropped, and honestly, if I could go back, I would knit it a little bit longer, just because, especially with breastfeeding and pregnancy, my body has changed. So it's a little more cropped, but it's just this beautiful moss stitch detailing on it, and then this lovely cable down the front. I love this sweater so much. It fits beautifully. It has like a good, like, kind of weight to it, and I feel like a lot of times with fingering weight sweaters, the ones that I've knit at least, they seem, I don't know, maybe it's just because my gauge tends to be looser than what the pattern will call for, but they seem almost flimsy or too open, too airy, and I really like my projects to be like solid, if you will. I don't know if I'm making sense. But where it's like this, when I hold it up here, you can kind of see through it a little bit if the light hits it right, but otherwise, like, it's solid. And I really like that. And so I was thinking about it this morning, and I was like, honestly, I should knit just a few more proper, like, DK weight sweaters. One, they'll go by so much faster, so I'll actually be able to bump up my hand knit sweater wardrobe, and I think I would wear them a bit more, because of the DK weight sweaters that I have, like, I really, really like them, and I really enjoy wearing them. So future Emily needs to get that in her brain. So this project, I'm knitting, I think, the 4th size. Yeah, I'm really excited to get this done, and, well, honestly, I'm really excited to just work on it, because that's the other thing too, is that with baby Tam and limited knitting time, it's so nice to have something that shows progress so quickly and in such short spurts of time, because this is probably, again, like, just a couple of times of knitting, and I'm, you know, almost halfway done with the front panel, one of the front panels. So yeah, I love it so much. I'm super happy with it. I'm so glad I was able to test knit. I was keeping my eye out because Emily had mentioned that she was planning to put out some more patterns, and so I've been watching, because I love test knitting for her. She's one of the first people that I test knit for, and she is just absolutely amazing to test for. So those are all of my new works in progress. So I've done a little bit of work on a couple of my other projects. Let me just go ahead and show you those. Not too much, but I have been able to squeeze in a few rows here and there, which has been lovely. First off is my Tegna sweater by Caitlin Hunter of Borland Knitworks, and I am just in the stockinette portion of it. I am just knitting and knitting and knitting. This is my yarn that I'm using. I believe it's, oh, come on, focus. I don't think it wants to focus on it. There we go. It's this beautiful yarn. I don't think I have the, oh, I do. It's in here. I didn't realize it was in here. Ow. I just poked my hand with some paper. It is Fleece Artist Tree Wool. And it is 70% superfine merino, 30% tencel. And I got a couple of skeins of this in a Knit Crate box. I got Knit Crate for a very short period of time several years ago. And one month I was able to, I think I had some coupons or something, and I was able to kind of splurge, and so I got like their super fancy box, and it came with this yarn. And so it's just been in my stash for absolutely forever, because I could not for the life of me figure out what to do with 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn. And I realized that that should technically be enough for a Tegna. I'm a little nervous it's not going to be, just because this is almost 1 skein, and I'm pretty sure I have quite a bit further to go on the body. And then I'll have, they're short sleeves, but I have 2 sleeves, and then all of the rest of it, yeah. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, because this is all I have left of the first skein. But hopefully we'll get there. And this is my 1 pair of Chiagu. Basically, I'm going through all of the different like really hyped knitting needles and testing them out and seeing which ones I like the best. So I still need to get a Haya Sharps and the Addies, like one of the Addie Click or just the Addie knitting needles, to try them out. And this is a nice cable. There's nothing wrong with this cable. I don't know, maybe I just have lower expectations for circular knitting needle cables, because like it's nice, but I don't feel like it's mind-blowing. Maybe that's just me. I don't know, but this is my 1 pair of Chiagus. So that's that project. And then the next project that I was able to work on a little bit more, which I'm actually finding that I need to get a wiggle on and get it done, because it's getting cold here in Tennessee. It's supposed to get down to like 34 degrees Fahrenheit tonight, so nice and chilly. But it's my baby blanket. And this is, again, it's just another made up pattern. I just found a stitch in my knitting stitch dictionary that I liked, and it's called the Granite Stitch. And it's just a basic kind of rectangle blanket, and I'm knitting this out of, again, a super budget friendly yarn. I was able to get it on sale for like $2.50 a ball. My poor floppy skein. This is the Big Twist value yarn from Joann's, and it's got 380 yards for 170 grams. And this is a colorway dark teal. I'm making it out of this because it was recommended by Leslie of A Friend to Knit With podcast. And she talked about how she really liked using it for baby blankets, because you can just chuck it in the washing machine, which I'm all about when it comes to baby knits. And yeah, it's coming along. My plan is, you can see on the back here, I've got my 2 tails here. My plan is to knit until, let me see if I can show you this, because I've used up 1 whole skein of this Big Twist yarn. And then my plan is, and I'm just about there, to knit until, because as you can see, I started off with a few rows of garter here at the bottom. My plan is to knit until this is right at the halfway mark, and the 2 pieces, I'm not showing this very well, but the 2 pieces basically line up with the stitch pattern, and then I'll know that it's time to put the garter section in. Hopefully that made sense. But basically I'm going until the second side matches the first side. Yeah, and I was able to work on this a little bit. I don't remember what size knitting needle I'm using. It's either 8 or 9. I can't remember off the top of my head. It might be size 9. But yeah. So there's that project. So those are all of the ones that I have actively like worked on at least a little bit. And then really quickly, I'm just going to show you the other 3-4 projects that I have on the needles at the moment. Gosh. Okay. So this is one that I have not touched in a while, and I would love to be able to get back to it. Just because it's so mindless and so beautiful. I love it so much. Make sure I'm not losing stitches anywhere. Okay. Yeah, there we go. This is my patchwork bias square blanket. Oh, it looks so good. I haven't actually held it up and looked at it in a while, and I've added a few more squares. I am just knitting this out of some of my leftover single skeins of hand-dyed yarn. I have so many just single skeins of hand-dyed yarn, and I'm just like, what do I do with this? And so I decided that I was going to make a blanket with it. And I'm just planning to do like kind of a lap size blanket. And I just, oh, it looks so good. This makes me want to knit on it so badly. Because it's so cozy and like lightweight. I think I'm knitting this on a size 4 knitting needle. I think that's what it is. And it's just lovely. I've got this purple, speckled, green, pinky beige. And I love it. I want to work on it so badly. Again, I haven't been able to touch it in the longest time because, you know, having a baby will do that to you. So there's that one. Let me tuck this back in here. So many random like patterns and things in here that I need to organize my knitting pattern stash, because I like to print out my knitting patterns because I really dislike having to look at them on my phone or my iPad or something like that. I don't like being tied to a device if I need to do some knitting. So I do prefer to print out my patterns. So there's that. Let me put this back in here. So those are my 2 blanket projects, which I want to do more blankets. Oh, technically I forgot. I do have a crochet project because I was crocheting a blanket for baby Tam, but then I kind of lost steam on that. And I've decided that I'm going to take the yarn that I was using for that and change it into a different blanket. But we'll talk about that next time. But I was watching Amber of A Lovely Yarn, and she's crocheting the Dahlia Scrap Gun, I think is what it's called, by Make Do or something. I don't remember exactly. I'll link it down below. And it looks so good. It looks so, so good. I really want to make one. But I'm really trying to hold off on casting on anything else new because I don't have time. I need to be cognizant of that. And then I do have a couple of sock knitting projects, but I'm not going to share those with you just because they're socks. They're basic shorty socks. So the last 2 I have, first one is the Oslo hat that I'm knitting for my dad. I haven't really made any further progress. Part of that's because I need to measure it and see how much further I have to go because I don't want to go too far and then have to rip back. But I'm knitting this out of some of my hand-dyed yarn. Oh, I just love how it looks. So there's this one. And I'm knitting it out of fingering weight held together, which is actually what the pattern calls for, which is really cool. I feel like a lot of times patterns these days, they're all holding a fingering weight with a mohair. I don't know. I've never used mohair, so I can't say I wouldn't like it, but there's the whole aspect of you already have to buy all this fingering weight yarn, and then not only do you have to buy all the fingering weight yarn, you have to buy all the mohair, and mohair is expensive. Like, So, anyway, again, tangent. There's that project. And then the last one that I'm going to share with you today is my Corbell sweater, which is another pattern by Claire of Flossy Knits, and it's another one that's knit in pieces. And you knit the back panel, then you knit the front panel, then you seam the sides and the shoulders, and then you knit the sleeves. And it's a drop shoulder all over cable design, and it's just beautiful. I love it so much. I test knit this for her. I had knit up like kind of a burgundy red version of it, and I ended up donating that because it had negative connotations attached to it because of the time of the place that I was at when I knit it. So I donated it, but I do love the sweater, and so I wanted to knit another one, and it's in this kind of stormy navy blue. That is some more of my hand-dyed yarn, and yeah, I really love it. I can't can't remember what knitting needle size I'm doing this on. I think it's a size 4, and I did the ribbing in a size 2. I think that's what I did. Which is quite a bit. It's sized down quite a bit from what the pattern calls for. I think it calls for like a 4 and a 6, but I'm finding that my knitting gauge is so loose. And I was watching Andrea Mowry of her podcast, the I'll Knit If I Want To, and she was talking about how that's common with continental knitters, and I'm a continental style knitter. And so I was like, oh, okay, so this isn't just me being weird, this just is kind of part and parcel with my particular knitting style. But yeah, I was able to put in, I think, like 1 row on this, and it just made me want to work on it so much. Because I would love to have this sweater done. Oh, I love this color. I love the cables. It's just beautiful. But that is all of my current works in progress. Let me put this away. So let me share with you really quickly my one acquisition that I got, and then we're going to talk about just a little bit of sewing. Okay, acquisition. So, I already mentioned Holly of the Mystery Mouse Knitting Podcast, and she mentioned a couple episodes ago that she was going to be looking into dyeing some yarn inspired by the Redwall books. And if you've been here for any length of time, you know that I am a huge fan of the Redwall series, which is a series of books by Brian Jakes. And so when she mentioned that, I was just like, yes, please do it. Oh, please do it. So she just released, on August 1st, she released her collection, and I was able to pick some up. She had a couple of sock sets, and then she had a mini skein set. And I decided to go for the mini skein set just because, yeah, I was like, realistically, I would feel like I would be more inclined to use a mini skein set than a sock set. So that's what I went for. And here it is. And I cannot tell you how much I love these colors. Like, especially this color. I think this one, I don't remember the names of them off the top of my head. I think that the red one was Redwall. I think the grayish one was Clooney the Scourge. I think this orange one was Basil Staghair. And oh my goodness, look at this orange. It's much more vibrant on screen than it is in real life. It's kind of a faded orange, like a burnt rusty orange, like a sweater in that. Oh. And then I can't remember which, one of these I think was Matthias. And one of them might have been Mossflower? I don't remember. But I love this one, again, so much. A sweater in this would be absolutely stunning. Like, honestly, if she had full-size skeins of the orange in this one, I would have gotten one of those, because she was showing them on her most recent podcast episode, which, again, I'll link down below. And I was just like, ooh! It looks so good. Especially, like, just this colorway. Like, I love it so much. It just looks so good. But yeah, so this is my one yarn acquisition. These are on a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and altogether it's 460, and the kind of colorway is just Redwall characters. So, if you want to know the exact names of the different colors, again, like I said, her podcast will be linked down below. You can watch her most recent one, and she talks about the different names for each of the colorways, but oh, they look so good. And I'm thinking what I might end up doing is, I thought about this, and I realized that it would be really cute. My husband has a ready-to-wear sweater that I bought for him, I think when we were first dating. It was like the first Christmas when we were dating, or maybe the following Christmas. No, it would have been the first Christmas, because then we got married before our second Christmas together. So I bought him a sweater, and it's a all over black sweater, and it just has these stripes of color on it. And I realized I think it would be really cool if I could make Baby Tam a sweater and use the Ollie's Classic Crew pattern, and use a similar, like just a gray or blue or something, like a dark background, and then do just a stripe of each of these colors. so it's kind of sort of matching, and then use whatever leftovers that are left for a pair of socks for me. Maybe, I don't know, I just feel so torn because it's so beautiful. I almost don't want to put it on my feet. And I wish that there was a pattern that I could knit that I could use these as stripes in it for me. But again, like, I only have mini skeins, so I have to toy a little bit with it. But I thought the idea of knitting baby Tama sweater with some stripes on it would be really, really, really cute. So stay tuned. We'll see. But I love them. I love them. I love them. I love them. They are so, so beautiful. It's just, I love them so much. Anyway, stop gushing. So, a little bit of sewing, tiny, tiny bit. I was actually able to do, not a decent amount of sewing, but more sewing yesterday than I have, well, I think yesterday and Monday than I have, like, since the baby was born. And I was able to finish off this nursing cover. I was actually sewing this at, like, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, super, super early in the morning, when I was, just before I was going into labor with baby. I was sewing this nursing cover and one other nursing cover because I needed to get them done. And so I went ahead and finished this one up. I didn't get it done beforehand. And this is based off of it's just a free, like, tutorial I found on a blog. I'll see if I can find it again and link it down below. But basically it's just a big square of fabric or rectangle, and then you put some boning in it so that when you have it on, like so, you can kind of keep an eye on baby. And then it's got the straps with some D-rings, and then this other strap. And this is some fabric I got from Joann. It's like a home decor canvas fabric. I just love the print. It's so beautiful. So I was able to finish that, which was really nice. And then I was able to do the zipper on one of my husband's pairs of jeans broke. And so I was able to replace the zipper yesterday, which was a first for me. And yeah, I'm really proud of myself that I was able to do that. I was kind of intimidated by it, and I told him, I was like, oh, shucks, you're just going to have to get rid of the jeans. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, well, what would it hurt if I try to fix it and completely ruin them? We're getting rid of them anyway, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And if I try to fix them and I'm able to fix them, then we don't have to find new pairs of jeans. So I did. I was able to get a jean zipper and some of the top stitching thread from Joann for really inexpensively. And I replaced it, and it was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. It was still a little nerve-wracking, but it all worked out. It's all good. I think he's wearing them now. It was good. So I was able to do that. I have several other mending projects and stuff. But when I was just recently kind of going through some of my winter wardrobe, a lot of the things that I've made for myself no longer fit or just don't fit right now because with pregnancy and stuff, my body changed a lot. But one of the dresses that does still fit is this dress, which I absolutely love. Look at that fabric. It's so cute. This is the Jennifer Lauren handmade Asteria dress, and I used the bodice portion of it, and then, did I even use the sleeve, or was it just the bodice? I think it might have just been the bodice. And I added on some slightly puffed long sleeves that are then cinched at the cuff with some elastic, and I added a gathered skirt with patch pockets, which I really love that style. And I tried this on for the first time since having the baby, well, since last winter, and it still fit, and I was just so happy because so many of the dresses that I've made for myself just don't fit. With my increased bust size and stuff, like they don't fit. And again, like my stomach area has not gone down completely after it having a pregnant belly and stuff, and so especially since I tend to really like quite fitted styles, they don't fit, which is, it's so sad. But I have high hopes that I will be able to, especially like if I get to the point where I'm not breastfeeding anymore, that I'll be able to fit back into them. But I was still able to fit this one, which is because this is supposed to be designed to be a little bit more looser fitting, and I made it when I was really early pregnant, but it was already getting to the point where like I needed things to be loose around my waist, because I think I've mentioned this before. I had terrible acid reflux during my pregnancy, and anything the slightest bit tight over my waist area was just, oh, I could not. But it still fit, and it made me so happy, because I feel like so much of the time now I have to wear kind of just t-shirts and skirts to be able to like feed my baby and stuff. And so it was really nice to be able to put on a cute little dress with these snaps down the front so I can access things, and it just made me really feel really cute and feminine. So I was really happy about it. And I bought this flannel. You might be sensing a theme here. I bought this flannel, I think before baby was born. And it's so cute. It's got this little fox and a hedgehog and squirrel and deer. And it's just mushrooms, moths, birds. It's just beautiful. And this is just like the really both of these were just really inexpensive flannel from Joann's, and it goes on sale all the time, especially this time of year, for like $4 a yard or less. And so I'm going to make another one of the Asteria dresses out of this, and I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping that I can get to it sooner rather than later, just because I would love to have another one of these that I can wear. I technically have another one of these dresses, but I have to modify it, because for whatever reason, that one, even though I made this one and that one at like the exact same time, that one just is a little tight around the armholes. And so either I have to play with it a little bit, or just go ahead and donate that one, which would be kind of sad, because I really do like the fabric. It's just a green plaid check. But anyway, I would like to very much make another one out of this fabric, which would be so lovely. But we shall see when that happens. Hopefully sooner rather than later. That is all that I have for you today. As far as creative stuff, I really quickly here at the end wanted to mention that I am hoping to get a, I have some odds and ends of hand-dyed yarn that I would like to put up for sale. They're perfectly fine, perfectly normal hand-dyed yarn. There's just stuff that I didn't sell when I had my hand-dyed yarn business, and I would like to try and sell it so that I can purchase some undyed yarn, so I can hopefully do just a little bit of hand dyeing, of yarn dyeing. And I decided that what I'm going to do, I've got to do a little bit more research. I was thinking about using Etsy, but I've decided to look into using Ko-fi, I believe that's how you pronounce it, which is, it's kind of similar to Patreon, if you're familiar with it, but a little bit less, from what I understand, a little bit less corporate, and it, there's no like required membership fees or anything like that. It's just something where if you want to support your favorite creators, you can go through that and buy them a coffee, give them like $5 or something. And I just realized this morning that there's also an option on there to have a shop. And the reason that I'm looking at doing that over Etsy is because there's no initial fees. So because I don't expect everybody to just go out and immediately buy all the yarn. It's a little bit hard with Etsy just because it does have fees and it can be quite expensive, whereas with Ko-fi it only has a 5% fee if you make a sale. And so I am going to be doing some research and looking into doing that, and I will hopefully have that linked going forward in future videos and whatnot. I'll go ahead and put the link down below for just the regular standard donation function or whatever, so that if you feel like it, you can buy me a coffee, but it wouldn't be a coffee, it would be a tea, because I like tea. And honestly, it wouldn't even be that. It would be yarn or fabric. But I'll go ahead and link that down below. But I just wanted to put that out there to just kind of let you guys know that that's in the works, that I'm going to start working on that. I have a couple of sock sets that I'm going to put together, and then just some other odds and ends of hand-dyed yarn. Because I would like to get into doing low-key some yarn dyeing. I think that it would be lovely. I'd love to do some of my own Redwall inspired collections. I will listen to the audiobooks that are narrated by Brian Jakes and a full cast, and so many times there'll be a certain phrase or something like a situation, and it just makes me think of like yarn dyeing. So I would love to get back into it, but just a heads up on that. Other than that, we've all been doing really well. We're really healthy. Sometimes it's a little bit hard these days. I'm kind of sleep deprived and creativity deprived, just because baby Tam just needs me. He needs me so much right now. And sometimes it gets a little frustrating. But I'm thriving. I am so loving being a mama, and it's such a privilege. It's such a privilege. I'm so grateful that my husband is willing for me to be a stay-at-home mom, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that it's become such a foreign concept in today's world that there's a lot of people that their spouses would not be supportive of that. My husband is incredibly supportive of that, and that he also has a very good job. We are so grateful for that. Yeah, so we're all doing very well. I'm planning to try and do a few more extra videos, just little videos here and there, because I don't always have the time to make stuff so that I can then film a podcast about it. But I'm trying to do, I've got another knitting chat that I would like to do, a couple actually, and just some kind of vlogs. I've been very inspired by Carrie of Carrie Cakes. Her vlogs are just so lovely, and I would like to do a few more simple, like week in the life, day in the life sort of videos. So stay tuned for all of that. And then I've also got some book videos that I would like to make for my book channel, which I'll leave a link to it down below. Just talking about books that I've been reading recently. I need to film one because I've actually been able to read a decent amount over the last month or so. But yeah, so so many things that I would like to do and that I am working towards being able to do. But I'm going to go ahead and end things here. Baby has done so well this whole time, and I don't want to run the risk of talking too long and then him needing me to feed him and everything. So thank you so much for being here, for watching my videos, supporting my channel. If you liked it, give it a like. If you would like to see more of this type of content, feel free to subscribe if you aren't already. Those things just really do help the channel, and I've mentioned this before, but my goal is to really just build a lovely little community here on YouTube, and eventually to get to the point where I can kind of monetize my videos just as a way to supplement my husband's income, and just for us to be able to afford for me to stay at home, and also as a way to kind of fund my creative endeavors. That's just kind of my ultimate goal for this channel. Nothing too crazy. I think it would be kind of weird if I got to the place where with like hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I've told my husband, I'm like, I'm not interested in that. If I can just meet that threshold of 1,000 subscribers to where I can get a little bit of monetization, whatever happens after that, I don't care. My only goal is just to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. But anyway, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here and for supporting me and just watching the channel and spending time with me, commenting, doing all the things that you do. I hope that you are doing very well and that you're able to do something creative. Yeah, thank you. And I will see you again very soon on the next one. Bye.